Hi, this is Everett, Everett's Watercolors. Welcome to my classroom. I'm broadcasting on live today, and I'm sending out my message to YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Tweet. So welcome aboard, and I hope you are watching, and give me some comments along the way, and we'll be checking in with you. Gloria's in the studio with me today.
Hi, and welcome.
And she's going to keep track of the messages coming in and also the broadcast. What we're going to do today is something really exciting, I think. We're going to do, I'm going to do a sunset, and I'm going to work with the color orange. So when I thought about the color orange, the first thing that came to mind was a sunset or a sunrise. But I'm going to do a sunset. Everybody enjoys a sunset, and I think you'll enjoy the one today. So let me take you over to my planning table and painting table and show you what I've got started here. I'm having my mouse is a little bit slow today for some reason, and I'm going to move you over to the overhead camera, and I'll also put the chat. I'll also put the chat on just a moment. Okay, the chat's on, so you can all send me a message. And I've got the, I'm going to move over my mic. Okay, I'm at my painting table. This is where I spend a lot of time. And let's start out with the, let's see, let me take that, I got to take that sign off the screen. Hold on, give me a second. My mouse is not moving with me today. It's really not cooperating. I'm getting over it. I'm going to turn that off on the screen in just a moment. Just turn it off. Got to get over to the. Let me get to the overhead camera. Turn it off. Okay, and then bring it over. Okay. All right. Had to turn off that little message going across the board. Yeah, my mouse is acting up a little bit today, so I had to kind of tweak it. Okay, first thing I'll go over the color wheel, which is always good to have. If you don't have a color wheel, you need to get one. That's the most important tool I have in my art room. We're going to talk about the color orange today. And orange is a secondary color. It's a mixture of red mixed with yellow, gives us an orange. And of course, there's a yellow orange in between, and then there's a red orange in between the orange and the red. And then most importantly, also, the complementary color right across the color wheel is blue. So I'm going to be using those colors. I'm using all these colors in the painting today. And let me go over my colors. First of all, let me show you my painting plan. Then we'll go over the colors. My reference photographs. This is a sunset, and it's got a great big old palm tree here. I think this is a shot from Puerto Rico. This is a shot from Puerto Rico Beach. Beautiful sunsets they have there. I've seen a few of them in my lifetime. And here's another photograph of another sunset with another set of palm trees with the sun coming up behind. So I'm using both of these in my reference here, and I'll show you my diagram here in a minute. So with these two photographs I'm using for references, the big palm tree on the left and the small group of palm trees on the right. Okay. And what I did is I drew my design plan, and palm trees, the water, and palm trees over here on the right. And I'm going to have a beach. I'll connect them together with a beach and some rocks here on the beach area. Okay, and I'm going to put a couple of sailboats in the water. So this is my plan. My plan. You can see here also I'm going to be putting the sunset in behind, so it'll be the sky is going to be light, and the foreground is backlit, so it's going to be dark. So it's going to be really a two-value painting. It'll be lights in the background, and it'll be the middle ground here in the water will be kind of a medium color, and then the foreground is going to be dark. So light, medium, and dark will be the values. Okay, now my color scheme here is, go to the colors on my palette. I'm going to use yellow orange, which here is in my palette. Yellow orange, yellow lemon here on the bottom of my palette, and Pyrrole Red. That's a new color I've been using for the last several weeks. Pyrrole Red is a bright red, so it's a little brighter than a Lutheran Crimson. So Pyrrole Red will be using for my red. Ultramarine Blue, which is the complementary color of orange, I'm going to use up here in the top. Ultramarine Blue, and I'm going to use a little bit of Burnt Sienna. Now, think about it. Burnt Sienna has got some orange in it. It's got a little bit of red and a little bit of yellow in it. So Burnt Sienna is also a complementary color with the reds and oranges. So I'm going to be using really 3 colors in the sky. I'm going to be using red, orange, yellow, and a little bit of Burnt Sienna in the sky for the sunset. And I'm going to use the blue as a complementary color for contrast, and I'll show you how I use that. And of course, the mixture of the colors, red and yellow, of course, gives me orange. So that's really the simple explanation of the colors I'm using today and the layout. Now, what I like to do, as I've said before in many of my other presentations and demos, I always do a little color sheet, little color plan of what I'm going to use. And these are the colors down here. This is the yellow orange painting. This is the lemon yellow. This is the Pyrrole Red. This is Ultramarine Blue, and this is Burnt Sienna. And what I did here across the top is I mixed the orange with the yellow, and you can see I get a little lighter yellow. It's a yellow orange, and I added the red to it. It gives me that red orange. Remember the color wheel? I have a red orange. I have orange, yellow orange, and then red orange. So those are how those mixtures right there between yellow and red are those mixtures. So by adding the yellow and by adding the red, I get those mixtures of orange. And then I added blue to the orange, which is the complement. And you can see I get a very dark color. It's a dark gray. You can get a dark gray, but it's a warm gray because of the yellow and orange in behind. And then I mixed Burnt Sienna with orange. You can see I get a much darker orange with the Burnt Sienna added to it. So I get quite a nice complement here of oranges that I can use. And then with the yellow, I mixed it with the red here again. And you can see I got the same idea here of orange with the red and yellow together. Then I mixed the blue with the yellow. I get the green. I won't use any green today. The green mixture will be in there, but it'll be hidden in the dark. You won't see it. You won't see any green in today's painting at all. And of course, Burnt Sienna in with the yellow won't show up very much either. And of course, the red mixed in with the Ultramarine Blue gives me the violet, and then the red mixed in with the Burnt Sienna gives me a dark brown. And then Burnt Sienna mixed with the yellow, which I won't use today. It gives me yellow. It gives me green. And Burnt Sienna mixed with the Ultramarine Blue mixed with the Burnt Sienna gives me a nice dark brown. I'll use that for the foreground because of the backlit trees and the backlit beach. And then the Burnt Sienna, here's the Burnt Sienna mixture. I mixed that with yellow, I mixed it with red, and the Burnt Sienna with the blue. And you can see the different tones that I have here using Burnt Sienna. And off here to the right, I used a little bit of, show you how the complements work together. I put the yellow-orange painting and and I put the ultramarine blue here. Then I merged them, I brought them together, and you can see the combination of the mix. It gives you a warm gray, is what it does. It gives you a warm gray. And then down here, I mixed from yellow all the way to Burnt Sienna. I put yellow, orange, red, and then Burnt Sienna. You can see the transition of color from a light yellow all the way to a darker orange out here with the Burnt Sienna added. And that's going to be my painting plan right there for the sky, right there, going from yellow all the way to Burnt Sienna. And down here, I mix the blue in with the red, and then mix it in with the yellow. I get the general combination of colors I can get here with this combination. So those are my mixes, and that's very important. And it's nice to have a planning chart to see what colors you can really come up with. And I'll be using this chart here in the painting today. And the last thing I want to show is brush strokes. Because I have palm trees in the painting, and they're a special tree, and it takes a special brush stroke. So you want to practice your brush stroke for whatever you're using, whether it be rocks or water or whatever. You want to practice the brush strokes that you need to work on. In this case, it's the brush stroke to make the palm trees. And talk about brush strokes. I did a lot of practice. This is a lot of practice with the brush. Here I was practicing which brush to use and how much paint to use and so forth. So really practicing your brush strokes gives you a good idea of how you're going to paint the object that you want to have. So that's very important. So today's tip is to practice your brush strokes a lot before you get to your actual painting. And even during the painting, you want to do brush strokes. Okay. So I got the drawing here to show you, and then I already talked about that. That's the training. That's the painting plan right there. I'll bring it up a little closer. That's the painting plan. I got a large tree here with a beach, and then a small group of trees over here. Okay. All right. So what I do in all my painting exercises is I transfer that drawing to a quarter sheet of Gemini watercolor paper. This measures 15 inches wide by 11 inches high, 15 by 11. It's archival Gemini watercolor, 140-pound cold press watercolor paper. And I have this on my website, everettswatercolors.com. And all the paints I show today and brushes I'll show are all on my website at everettswatercolors.com. Okay. So I'm going to get into the painting. What I have now here, the brush I'm going to use here, first of all, is the Hake brush. This is a silver brush Hake. And it's a natural hair, goat hair, but it holds a lot of water, and it's a good way to get started. So I'm going to use that to wet down the paper here. And I'm going to do that right now. So I'm going to wet down the paper here for the sky. I'll go down to the water line. And before I go any further, also, I did some other preparation I'll talk about in a second here. So I go ahead and put a nice coat of water up here, wet the paper. That way it'll make the paint move a lot faster, a lot easier. In this spot here, if you notice the sun rises right there, sunsets right there. What I did is I put a little bit of masking fluid, and I used my fine line mask pen. And I just took the top off and just put a little bit right there, and that covers that little white. I want to save the white because when I paint the sky on, I don't want to have to worry about that little section. So everything is going to be orange or yellow except for that one spot there, which I protected with the masking fluid. And that's the only time I use the masking fluid is if I want to protect an area that I don't want to have paint on. Okay, now the next step I'm going to do is I'm going to mix up my paints and brush here. So I'm going to use a lot of color here. So yellow, I'm going to start with yellow, lemon. Mix up a nice big puddle. And next to that, I'm going to put the yellow orange. I'll use a lot of that in the sky. And next I'm going to use just a touch of red. We don't want too much red. That red is so powerful that it will take over the painting. So I'll just use a little bit of red, just a touch of red. So the main color is going to be orange in the sky, but I'm going to have a little bit of yellow, a little bit of red. And off here to the side, I have a mixture of Burnt Sienna over here, and I have a little mixing tray that I have, not a mixing tray, a little mixing area over here that I have for the Burnt Sienna. I wasn't able to put that on the screen today, but it's a little section on my palette that I can move and put a lot of paint over here. If you want to see that, I'll show it to you real quickly. I have a little mixing section over to the right side of the palette, and I have the Burnt Sienna in there. Okay. All right. So I'm going to take the big brush, and I'm going to start out with the yellow lemon. And I'm going to go over here and put the yellow lemon here next to where the sun is. And I'm going to pick up the orange and start right in over top of the sky, blending it right in with that yellow. So I want the sky to be a little darker at the top. And it's okay. I don't mind because everything else is going to be darker than the sky. It doesn't matter. I'm not really covering up anything. It doesn't matter because it's going to be painted darker anyway. The only thing that's light is going to be where the sun is. All right, now I'm going to pick up just a little bit of red now, mixing it with that orange. So I got a little bit of red color in there. And the last color I'm going to pick up is a little bit of burnt sienna here at the end. Now you can see how that burnt sienna merges right in with the orange, but it gives me a darker mix of orange. So it's really interesting. I got 4 colors here now working in the sky. I got the yellow, I got the orange, yellow orange. I've got the Pyrrole Red, and a little bit of burnt sienna out here. I'm going to put that burnt sienna up on the top also, make it a little darker in the sky. And I'm going to take a little bit of the darker orange. I want the horizon to be just a little bit darker than there. Get a little color down here at the horizon. Because as the sun is setting, the light's going to change, and it's going to get darker at the horizon line. And also the color, when this paint dries, it's going to dry 40% lighter. So you want to take that when you're painting. You want to take that into account. The paint's going to be lighter. I'm going to turn the hair dryer on. Okay. I had to hold it up a little bit because the water's moving and so forth. And these areas over here, I'm going to put the tree in front. It doesn't bother. I just want to make sure this area here was the cleanest and kept the lightest soap. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to prepare the colors I'm going to use for the water. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to clean up the palette. I'm really finished with the orange right at this point. So now I got to clean the palette up. And get my big sponge out here, and it's pretty easy. Just take a big sponge and mop up that color. Now normally I'd have 2 or 3 paintings going at the same time, so really I use the same colors, but right now by using just one painting at a time, take all the colors off. Okay, so I'm gonna get a nice clean palette. And I'm going to use, this time I'm going to use the 3/4 inch Holbein synthetic brush. And I'm going to mix up my watercolor for the water. Well, that was funny. Watercolor for the water. Watercolor color for the water. That's it. I'm going to use a little bit of ultramarine blue. A lot of ultramarine blue. And what I'm going to do, because the sun is shining on that water, I'm going to have the light also reflect a little bit. So I'm going to put a little bit of the orange mixed in with the blue. Just a tad. And what that does, it gives it a little bit of hint. And I'm going to put more blue than orange, so it will be darker. but there will be a trace of orange in that blue. And that's important because the sunlight's going to be reflecting off the water, and the atmosphere of that light hitting the water will also be absorbing that color. So there'll be some yellow traces in the water. So I'm accounting for that by mixing that with the blue color that I'm putting down here. So I'm going to make sure a nice big batch here and make sure it's dark enough. All right. So now the most important part here about the water is to keep the horizon line level. So I'm pulling it off to the side a little bit here, and I'm using the flat brush stroke. I see the paint's a little bit wet, a little bit damp over here on the side corner here. It's dry. It's okay everywhere else. Just let that go. That can be wiped up. If you have an area that gets a little bit wet or dry, from another part of the painting, and the best thing to do is let it dry a little bit before you don't mess with it. Okay, now as I come a little bit closer to the source of light, I'm going to mix a little more orange into the mix. So now I'm adding light to the watercolor. I'm adding light by putting the orange in there. I'm adding the indication that it's a little bit warmer over here. So the orange is going to show up on that. And I can go up here and put that color right on top of the ground here a little bit. And there's a structure over. I made a little structure here out of a building. I made a little building over here. And I want to take some of that out. I want to take all that in there. I'll take a little bit of that up. Didn't mean to put that in all the way. Okay. All right, now let's see if I can pick this up over here. If I have a spot that's a little bit damp, and it was just a little bit damp on the dry, and I just take a little tissue and just press down on it while it's still damp, and I can lift that off. There it worked, okay? Just make a nice sharp edge, press on it, and pick it up, okay? And that'll clean that up. I won't show it all. Okay, now as I come down, I get a little bit lighter on my blue now. So it's a dark against the horizon, but now as I come down, I'm going to make the color a little bit lighter, just a little bit. Horizon will be the darkest. As I come down, as I come forward, I'll make the color a little bit lighter. And over here, I'm adding a little bit of sun light over here on the water, so I'm making the color even a little different over here. I make a little more orange into that mixture because the sun is reflecting on the water here. So I'm going to take that and account for that. The glow of the sun hitting some of the water coming from that side. But on this side over here, it's going to be darker on the left side. Okay, so I'm kind of blocking in the water right now. I'm putting in a dark enough color, and I'll put some little shadows in here once I get the color down. But right now, I want to get the base coat in there. Mixing a little bit of yellow in with that, a little bit of orange in with that blue to give it a gray look. I don't want to look too blue because there's no blue in the sky yet. I mean, the blue is gone. So the only blue would be just a little bit reflected. From maybe some other part of the sky somewhere. But right now, the majority of the color is going to be orange. So this part over here will be it's in shadow, but it's just in a part that doesn't have the direct light on. So I'm making it blue mixed with orange. So I'm just about to put all the water in. I'm going up here to the shore and just putting a little bit of that mass in there. Okay. Okay, now I'm going to dry that too. Okay. I'm going to rewet. I'm going to rewet to take the brush with a little bit of water in it. I'm going to wet this up just a little bit. What I'm going to do is lighten that little. I'm taking a little bit of that color off of there because it's a little bit darker than I want it to be. So I'm just taking. All I'm doing is rewetting that area and going over with a brush and just to reduce that real dark area. I want the edge dark, but the part after that, I want it to be a little bit lighter, just a little bit. Okay. Now I'm going to come down. Now this is going to be the wave action coming across the water. So there's going to be movement in the water. So now I'm putting a second layer of that blue orange mix, and this is the action of the way of the water moving into the shore. So just to give it some, you don't want to have just one color here. You want to have a variety of color. And there's a wave action. You got little scoopy doopies. I do like a little dipty dip in the wave to give it a little motion. And what I want to do also, I want to take a little bit of this. See, all you got to do is take a damp brush, and you can wipe off some of the color. This is what I'm doing right now. I'm really modifying some of that color. But I want to take some of that orange, just a little bit, and put that in the water. I would just show the reflection of that sun hitting the water, just a little bit. Just a hint that that sun is streaking through those palm trees up there, and then hitting the water, just just the surface, just a little bit. So that'll give the indication that the sun's coming across the water, hitting the surface. Okay. All right. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start painting the tree, painting the tree trunks. So pick another brush. I'm going to use two of those. I'm going to use the squirrel brush or mop brush. The squirrel brush from this is from Silver Brush, and it's a number 10. Yeah, it's a number 10 squirrel. It's number 10 quill. Number 10 quill. And this is the cool. This is the half inch. This is the half inch. This is the half inch uh, black velvet flat brush. Yeah. All right, there we are so far. All right, I'm going to go in and now work on the trees. So I'm going to mix up a little darker color. Use a little bit of ultramarine mixed in with burnt sienna. That'll give me a dark mix. And I'm also going to add a little bit of orange. So the orange is going to be in all the mixes. That's the secret color today. A mixture of blue and browns mixed in with oranges. Okay. So now I'm painting in the tree trunk over here. This big old palm tree. I'm painting in the tree trunk, and it's starting to spread on me. So I got to dry it some more. Okay. So add more color. I'm painting the palm tree trunk going down here to the beach. Adding more color. It's going to be dark. Remember, this is backlit from the bright sky. So this will be backlit, which will make it in shadow. This goes right on down to the beach. Okay. Now let that dry just a little bit also. And then we'll go into building the palm fronds, which are really a lot of fun to do. And it's going to be really the show and tell of this whole painting. Okay. Now, as long as I'm down here and I got this color, I'm also going to use this down here on the beach. So I'm going to just use that burnt sienna, a little more burnt sienna in this mix, a little more orange. Put that in here. This will be the beach color, which is dark because it's in backlit. Touch of blue. So I'm putting down just a base coat here to get started. So I got a dark foreground. And this dark foreground it's all in shadow. So all we have is a light background with a light, with the sunset, and then we have this dark foreground. So it's really silhouetted against that bright sky. That's all it is. And most cases, when you're looking at a sunset, the elements, the trees, and whatever's in front of it is going to be silhouetted because it's such a bright sky on the sunset. And what I want to do now is I'm going to put some little texture here. It'll be a indication of maybe some tall grass here or weeds growing next to the tree along the edge of the beach area. There'll be some rocks or tall grass or something growing up here next to the water. So I'm adding just a little bit of variety there. Don't want to leave a straight line. So any old dark color would do good here in the foreground. Now up here, I'm going to continue with the same mix. A little bit of blue, a little bit of burnt sienna, and put a little more blue. And this is a rocky area up here, so I'm going to put some rock colors together. Burnt sienna with a mixture of ultramarine blue, a little bit of orange in there also. And these are the rocks that are in next to the water. I'm painting this a little bit quickly, just trying to get, this is a demonstration just to show you the steps that would be taken to do a painting like this. And to put the colors up here. I'm going to take this smaller brush, this black velvet 1/2 inch brush, and do a little bit. This is in silhouette, so I'm going to make this a little more defined. And this will be maybe a little building up here, and that's why I don't want to cover up the whole thing. I'll leave a little bit of it showing. Maybe there's a window with a light showing through. So that's what that's all about up there. Okay, now while this is still wet, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a whole credit card I've used before, and I'm going to scrape in some rocks while it's still wet. So this area here, I'll put another one up here. Yeah, let that dry a little bit, and I might put a little bit of orange colors on that, but that's just to get it started. So scraping some rocks. And okay, before I leave this area over here, I'll use my other brush. Now this is the this is the Black Velvet number 8 round. What I'm going to do here now, I'm going to take a little bit more of that orange mixed in with the blue. So this will still be a brown, but it's going to be a warmer because I'm closer to the light source here. I'm going to make these tree trunks a little bit warmer looking, and by putting the yellow orange mixed in with that blue, I get a warmer color. So it's always a question of warm and cool, dark and light. In this case here, I'm trying to emphasize the warmness over here next to the sun. So these are the trunks that are way up. These are big tall ones. These are big tall palm trees. And they're silhouetted against the sky. So this makes it an interesting painting. Okay. All right, now over here, while I'm here with this smaller brush, what I'm going to do is take a little bit of that orange and just put a little bit on top, just a touch on top of these rocks, just to give a little bit of color. Because this is the impact area. So most of my color that I have, that I want to show, is going to be around this area. So I'm going to put a little bit of orange showing up here. To show the little reflection from the sky, but just to give it a little more special color. Now, okay, now the fun begins. What I'm going to do here now is I'm going to take another brush, which I have found is very helpful. This is a silver brush bristle brush. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to paint the palm tree lawns. And what I do is I wet the brush and I get the color. So I'm going to have a little bit of Burnt Sienna, a touch of Ultramarine Blue, and a little bit of orange. And then to practice that stroke, you can see there, to get that stroke, you have to practice how much pressure, how much paint's in the brush, how thick it is before you start. So over here, I'm going to start here on the outside, and these are going to be simple shapes. Let's get it started. I come back and reload the brush. And I've also found out that with the practice of the stroke, is it also the angle that I'm going to do. So that angle is down. This angle is going to be a little more turned. So I line it up with the turn. And pick up some more color. Again, I'll reload the brush, make sure it's nice and thick. And then this one has another angle. So this one has more of a angle going this way. And the big one. Okay. This one here has an angle. Let's see. I guess I should turn it around this way. Got to turn upside down. So I want to have the brushwork going this way. And then load the brush again. And I want to go this way. Load the brush again. Now this one here curves down, and I've got a little bit of direction I'm going to do. Give a little curve. Okay. And there's a big one out here. Load up the brush again. Little orange. Now, this one's closer to the sun. I'm going to put just a little more orange in this mix here. Just a little bit. This is closer to the sun color. So this one's going to have a little more brown or a little warmer color. Out that way. And I've got another one coming down here. And I'm turning the brush so I get the angle of the brush stroke that I want. So turning it so I get the right angle and the right dimension showing off. And let's see, I've got one more over here. This one here is coming off this side of the I'm going to turn it around again. Sorry, I'm trying to get the right angle, and I want you to see what I'm doing, but I'll get the right angle that I'm going to do the brush stroke in. Okay. Okay, now what I want to do now is go in with this number 8 round silver brush, and I want to go in and put in the part of the frond that shows it's a stem with a branch that attaches to the tree trunk. And then I can also add in some just a little dark here and there with this smaller brush. Again, I don't want this to be as defined as, I don't want this to be so defined, but I want it to be enough of it. Okay, now this one, again, I'm going to turn the board so I can get the right angle. I get a little darker mix. And connect some of those sections with the small brush. Okay. And then this one here comes down, connects to the trunk. And I'm going to go in and put some. Okay. I'm trying to get in a position where you can see what I'm doing, but I'm also trying to get the right angle. Connect these branches to the. I put a little dark in there, show it off. Now this spot in here is really all dark. It's just a dark mass of foliage on top of the. I'll connect that in with these shapes that I painted in with the bristle brush. And connect that to the trunk, of course. And this one over here, this one curves out. I load the brush again. Man, I'm loading the brush quite a bit because every time I put one on, I got to reload. So I'll connect this to the. Come around, and also connect some of this. So I needed two brushes to do this particular stroke. And that's why you need to practice this before you do it, because you just need to practice. Okay, what direction am I going to push the brush in? How much pressure do I put on the brush? How much paint do I need on the brush? What kind of paint am I going to use? And this one here is one large stem out here. Now this is the one that's going to show up the most, so I want to take my time on this one. Bring it over to the end. And then connect those parts with the branch so they make sense. And this is these are fascinating to paint because every one of them is different, and they're all different angles, different sizes. But if you can get them looking a little bit realistic, you know, they can become pretty effective painting. Just hanging off some of these. I want this to be the most striking one out here. This is the one that's out in the lead, pointing toward the impact area. Okay, and this one here, I can just draw in the stem of the branch that comes in. This one's almost dropping. This is dropping over the edge of the water. Not in the water, but it's over the edge of the scene of the water. So there's an overlap here of this branch with the edge of the water. As far as the viewpoint is, the viewpoint I'm looking at it, and I can see the branch overlapping the water. And then this one here is a little bit larger, but it's a smaller branch hanging on the side. And it's hanging down lower also. But as long as you give the impression, and this is an impressionistic painting, as long as you can give the impression of a palm tree, I think the outline and the shape, and then you got the idea of the shape and also the action of the wave. Now, what I'm going to do is change brushes again. Now here I'm using a 1/2 inch natural hair from the silver brush. And what I've found in natural hair brushes is I can use them almost like not a fan brush, but I can control the edges. You can't do this with a synthetic brush because the bristles won't spread the way this does. But I can spread these bristles right here, and I can spread them out. And if I put the paint on the edges, I'll go back to my practice again. If I get the paint on there thick enough, so that the bristles spread and stay spread, then I can get that nice look that I want. I want to get that rough edge, and that's not what I want. Gotta get more paint on there. But again, it's an exercise of getting the right amount of paint on there. Spreading it out. Okay. All right. The secret here, the secret in the combination is to get the right amount of paint on the brush. So here I'm going to put in the limbs, put on the limbs here, and I'm going to just paint them in. And again, these will be impressionistic. They're going to just look like they're palm tree limbs hanging down. And I think we can do a pretty good job with this brush. It's just a little, you load it with paint, and then you just do a little bit of stroking on it. Pick up a little more brown, and I'm going to go this way. And let's see, I'm going to put a few more in. So this is the lesson today. Remember I mentioned this is the pointer today, that before you do a painting like this, you find out where, when you get to a point of something that's a challenge like this, you need to practice the brush stroke. Especially in palm trees. If you want to make them look realistic or impressionistic enough to realize they are a palm tree, then you need to practice the stroke. And as you go on, as you see, the strokes they look a little more realistic. They look a little better each time you do them. And it's like anything. The more you practice, the better you get at anything. It's one of the elements of art or music or anything that even sports. As more practice you do, the better you get. I can imagine you can imagine the people playing tennis or golf or whatever, and the hours they spend just practicing the strokes over and over again. Well, it's the same way in painting. You got to practice. You got to practice the strokes. Load in the brush. How much pressure do I put on the brush? How much paint? A little bit of coverage in here. Okay. All right, now let's see. We're going to add a couple of little more interesting areas. The sailboats here are pretty simple. Just take a dark color, a little bit of ultramarine blue, and just paint in the shapes of the sails. And these are also silhouetted, so they're backlit, so they're going to be dark against the sky. So that's pretty simple. Just draw a dark shape in there, a little sail. Sailboats are easy to paint because they're just sails. They just look like little squares, and in this case, a little triangle for the sail, and then a little rectangle at the bottom for the hull, and you got a sailboat. And there's one back here in the background, a little smaller. Same idea, a little sail and a little horizontal motion. Okay. Now, the only thing I want to do now is there's a couple little white spots down here. So let me take a brush full of paint and take off the white. I want to take off some of this light area a little bit around the. Just cover up a little bit of the rocks. They aren't that light, so I want to knock those down just a little bit. Now I'm going to dry this, so I want to take that paint. I want to take the masking fluid off for the sun. Okay. Oh. Get my mask pickup. My rubber cement pickup, which I also have. I have the white mask. I have the mask pens and masking fluid, and these are rubber cement pickups, and these are really handy to pick up the. Now this has been on. I had this on a couple days ago, so the longer you leave it on, but as long as you get it off within the first 2 or 3 weeks, you're okay. It's not that critical. You can leave it on for a while, but then you don't want to leave it on for a long time. It gets hard to come off. And now all I do is indicate here now the branches are going to come a little bit across that. Show a little bit across that sun. Don't want that sun peeking through. Peeking through that sun. That sun peeking through those the limbs of the tree. Okay. Any other spot I got not a problem with, but a little highlight over here. Get it off. Just mark it off over here. Okay. Okay. I think that is all I want. That's all I have now to demonstrate. Let me put the mask around it, or the mat. And what I've chosen today for today's mat is the dark mat. So I'm going to put this up here. And let me put it under already under a okay. I'm going to put a dark mat around it. You can see there. Let me straighten it up a little bit. You can see there that dark mat really pops out that sunset sky. The dark mat around it. If someone wants a white mat, they can put a white mat around it. There's the white mat that kind of marks off the area also. So a white mat excuse me, a white mat would work like this. It turns out it's kind of pretty. I like that. And then a dark mat around it would really show off the light colors. Okay, and I did an earlier version. This is an earlier version of the same painting. Let me straighten up just a little bit. Here we go. This is an earlier version. They're pretty similar. I did a couple of different things here. I think I made the limbs a little too long on this one, but I changed. You know, I water. I put a little wave action here in the background, which turned out pretty good. But you know, the light, the sunlight coming in, the rocks, so forth, they're just about the same. So, but that was practice. So I had to practice on a full painting here to do this painting here today for demonstration. So that's really my tip for today is make sure you practice the brushstroke. I think this turned out. I like that orange sky sunset. So let me take it back over to. Let me take it back over to my main camera. Yeah. This is a one-man operation. It's kind of interesting what I have to do. And my mouse is really not cooperating a little bit today. It's really amazing. It's slow, and it happened to me the other day. I don't know why. And let me put down. Also, want to show the colors again. Okay. Those are the yellow colors in the Holbein portfolio of colors. You can see there's only 4 colors of orange available. And today I used the yellow orange is what I use today in my painting. But I also added burnt sienna. So the burnt sienna is to me an orange, or it has a lot of orange flavor to it. So burnt sienna works a lot in a lot of paintings where you work with blues and burnt sienna and so forth. It turns out to be a real nice. I did a painting in my website and also on YouTube that I just used the 2 colors, Ultramarine Blue and Burnt Sienna. So they both work very well as oranges. So I was very happy with the painting today. I hope you enjoyed that. It was a good exercise. I think the practice of brushstrokes is very important. Getting the colors is one thing, and getting the orange, I think using the Hake brush to get a nice big wet sky going, and adding the colors and letting them wash together. I think that was important. And then the brushstrokes on the trees. If you want to do palm trees, you need to practice the brushstrokes. Get a brush and then learn what your brush can do. Some brushes won't do as well as others. You have to kind of look around. I found this bristle brush that I found, which has got a stiffer bristle to it, so it moves the paint a little differently than a soft brush. Most soft watercolor brushes are too soft. Unless you spread them out like I did with the smaller trees. I did use a natural brush there. Again, but you have to put enough paint in there and you have to be careful with this brush stroke you do to get the right stroke, the right mark on the paper. So that's a little bit of hint I have for you today for doing a painting like this. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll be back again next week on Thursday at 2 o'clock. My mouse is so slow I can't even get it started. So I hope to see you next week at 2 o'clock on Thursday. Still won't win. I try to turn it.